Brahma Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Dena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katahmayam Tatati Swapatantikam. Do we have a Krishna Lila Stava? We have it? Really? You're hired. Fantastic. Is there another one? Is there one more? Just one? Good. Smart thinking. There's some verses in here we're going to add. I hope Ramananda Saka hears about this. It's called the Srimad Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram on page 296. We'll add this to the Mangalacharana. 296. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Namaum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Srimnivadi Paschatadeshatarine Shri Shri Navadvipa Para Pradipa Sandeepa Yamana Satato Bhuviya Chetastamo Hantina Yasya Yatnat Tam Kirtayama Prabhupada Devam Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Prachodita Shri Vyasadya Kosham Kushalam Kripalu Samlecha Vagdesha Chayeda Dadyas Tam Kirtayama Prabhupada Devam Achadyate Yat Paratarkadashya Govinda Murtyujvala Bhaskarena Advaiti Kadyota Kulam Jagatyam Tam Kirtya Himana Prabhupada Devam Yasyaiva Yatnena Purana Raja Gangamala Keshava Keli Hamsa Satstotra Ratna Vahiti Haloke Tam Kirtayama Prabhupada Devam Shri Radhika Krishna Padaravinde Sahasra Hritsu Shatamandareshu Aropayadyo Madhure Prativyam Tam Kirtayama Prabhupada Devam Kaushalyadher Yasya Sahasra Shastra Shastras Tivarshai Pratiyant Yatehi Chanda Kalir Moha Chamur Hatena Tam Kirtayama Prabhupada Devam Nana Lasad Gaura Sudha Prakasha Palashitao Stapita Eva Yena Krishna Nuchinta Janasanga Vrikshas Tam Kirtayama Prabhupada Devam Yo Nityada Jivati Daivikeshu Nijasu Shikshasu Tusanugami Kripam Budir Nanda Shuta Shritatma Tam Kirtayama Prabhupada Devam Namaum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamine Shri Varshabhana Videvi Dayataya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Pravave Namaha Madhuryo Jwala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute. Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudhaba Siddhanta Dvanta Harine. Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambu Jayate Namaha. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sakchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Virbhava Bhomestvam Nirdesa Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhoma Shri Jagannataya Te Namaha. Chakalpatrubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvishe Namaha. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Manda Materagati Matsarvasva Padambojao Radha Madana Mohano. Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadha Srimad Ratnangara Singhasanastao Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devao Prishtali Sevyamanu Smarami. Srimad Rasarasarampi Vamshi Vartatatastitaha Karshan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestunaha. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vrindayai Tulsi Devyai Priyayai Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha. Shri Nrsimha Jai Nrsimha Jai Jai Narasingha Prahlada Desha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringa. Matsamo Nasti Papadma Naparadi Chakaschana Parihare Pilajame Kim Bruve Purushottama. Yavatinam Yata Yuni Yunam Cha Yuvatau Yata Mano Biramate Tadvan Mano Me Ramatam Twayi. Bhumau Skadita Paranam Bhumireva Valambanam Tvai Jata Paradhanam Tvameva Sharanam Prabho. Govinda Balabe Radhe Prarthaye Tamaham Sada Twadiyam iti janatu Govindo mam tvaya saha. Radhe Vrindavanadishe Karunamrita Vahani Kripaya Nijapadabja Dasyam Mahyam Pratiyatam. Vande Nanda Vrajastrinam Padarenum Avikshnashaha Yasam Harikato Gitam Punati Bhuvanatrayam. Namashrestam manamapi shachiputramatra Shirupam tasya gajam maruparim maturim goshtavatim. Radha kundam girivaramaho radhika madhavasham. Prapto yasya pratita kripaya Shri Gurum tam datosmi. Adadhanas trijam dante idam jache punah punaha. Srimad rupa padamboja Rajoham Syam Bhave Bhave. Hantaya Madhur Abala Haridasavaryo Yadrama Krishna Charanashvarasha Pramodaha. Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayos Tayo Yat Paniya Suyavasa Kandana Kandamulai. Yada Yada Hitarmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abhyutanam Adharmasya Tadatmanam srajamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mami vaishyasi yuktvaivam atmana matparayanaha sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja ahang tvang sarva papebhyo mokshayishami ma sujaha shushusho shadadhanasya vasudeva katharuchi syan mahat sevaya vipra punyatirtha nishevana shrinvatam swakatha krishna punya shravana kirtana hrityantaksto hyabhadrani vidunoti suritsatam nashta praeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki tada rajastamo bhava kamalo badayashchaye chaitaiter anavidham stitam satve prasidati evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate vidyate hridaya grantish chijante sarva samshayaha shiyante chasya karmani Trishtaevat manishvare. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktabinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shishupanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate Isavasya Midang Sarvam Yakincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjitaha Magradhakasya Siddhanam Kurvane Veha Karmani Jijivishakshatam samaha evam tvainanyate tosti nakarma lipite nare asuryanamate loka antena tamasavrita tamste pratyabhigachanti yeke chatma hano janaha ane jarikam manaso javiyo naina devabnu vamparvanarshat Tadhavato jnanate titishtat tashminapo mattarishva dadati tadejati tannajati tadure tadvantike tarantarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasya syabhayataha yastu sarvani bhutani atmani van pashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam Tato na vijagupsate Yasmin sarvani bhutani Atma adbud vijanataha Tatrako mahokashoka Ekatvam anupashyata Sarpariyad gakshukram akayamavranam Asnaviram shudhamapapa vidham Kavir manishi paryabu swayambhur Yatatyatyatortan virashchas Shasvati Bhyasamabhyaha Andam Tama Pravishanti Ye Vidyam Upasate Tato Bhuya Evate Tamo Ya'u Vidyayam Rataha Anyadevahur Vidyaya Anyadahur Vidyaya Iti Shushru Mathiranam Dhinastad Vichichakshide Vidyam cha yas tadvedo bayam saha avidyayam ratum tirdva vidyayam ratum ashnute andham tama pravishanti ye sambhutim upasate tato bhuya evate tamo ya'u sambhutyam rataha anyareva hura sambhavad iti shushumadhiranam yenastad vichichakshire sambutim cha vinasham cha yastad vedo bayam saha vinashenam mritum tirtva sambutyam mritum ashnute hiranmayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukham tatvam pushana pavrenu satyadharmaya drishtaye pushane karshe amasurya prajapatya vyuharashmin samuhate tejo yate rupam kalyanatamam tate pashami yosavasau purusha somasmi vayur anilamamratam hatedam bhashmantam shariram om kratos smara kritam smara kratos smara kritam smara Agninaya supataraya asman Vishvani deva varinani vidvan Yuyodyasmash chuharana meno Puishtam te nama uktim videma Shri Shapanashad Sampurnam Shri Padeshamrita. It's in your shloka book. Vacho vegam manasakrodha vegam Jihva vegam udaropasta vegam Etan vegam yo vishaheta dhira sarvamapi mam prithivim sashishyat. Did you find the page? 331. Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha janashangascha lalyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati utsahan nishchayad dharyat tat tat karma pravartanat Sangatyagat satovrate Shadbhir bhakti prasidyati Dadati pratignati Kuyamakyati prichyati Punkte bodhayate chaiva Shadvidham pritilakshanam Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta Dikshasti chepranidubishta chabashantamisham Shushushaya bhajana vignamananyamanya Nindari shunyardamipsita sangalabdhya Drishtva sabhava janitar babushashcha doshar Na prakritavamiha bhaktya janasya pashyad Gangam nasam nakalubud bunapena panghar Brahma dravapam apagachiti niradharmai Syat Krishna dhamma chaditari sitapta vidya Patopta tapta rasanasya narochikanu Kintva varad anudilam kalu saiva jushta Swadvikramad bhavati tad garamulahantri Tannama rupa charitari sukirtananu Smrityo kramayena ramasara manasi niyoja Tishtam vraje tanaruragi jananugami Kalam nayeda kilamitu padesha saram Vaikunthaj janito vara marupuri tatrapi rasotsavad Vrindaranya mudhara pani ramanat tatrapi govardhanaha Radha kundam giri kulapate pramam ravanat Kurayadasya virajato giridite sevam vavekinakaha Karmibhya parito hare priyataya vyaktim nyayurgyaninas Tebhyo jnana vimukta bhakti parama premaika nishtastata Tebhyasta pashupala pankata drishastabhyopi saradika Preshtad tadbad iyam tadiya sarasi tanna shayat kakriti Krishnasyo chai pranayavasit prayasibhyopi radha Kundam chasya munibirapitastadrigeva vyadhari Yat preshtar apyalam asulabam kim punar bhakti bhajam tat premedam sakrideva saras natur avishkaroti Shri Upadeshamrita Sampurnam Radhe Shyam. Bhagavad Gita chapter 7. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Sakta Manarparta Yogam Yunjan Madashrayaha Asamshayam Samagramam Yata Gyasasti Tashrinu Jnanam Teham Savigyanam Idam Bhaksham Yasheshataha Gyajgyatva Niha Bhuyo Naj Katavyam avishishyate. Manushanam sahasreshu kasyid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kashinmam veti tatvataha. Bhumirapo nalo vayu kammano bhutireva ahankara ityame binna prakriti rashdada aparayam mitastanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagad itadyonini bhutani sarvanityu padaraya aham kritsnasya jagataha pravava pralayastata matak paratadam nanyad kinchidasti dananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva soham apsikonteya prapashmi shashishurya yoho pranavak sarva vedeshu shabdake purusham vrishu punyo ganda prativyam cha tejas chasmi vibhavasau jivanam sarva bhuteshu tapas chasmi tapasvishu bijam mam sarva bhutanam vidhi partha sanatanam bhutir buddhimantamasmi tejas tejas vidamaham balam balabatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma vidaudo bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshapha ye chaiva sattvika bhava rajasastamasaschaye mata eva iti tanvidhi natvaham teshu che mayi tribhir gunamayer bhaver eve sarva midam jagad mohitam nabijanati mamebhya paramavyayam Yesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite namam duskritinu mudaha prapadyante naradama maya ya apritagyana asuram bhavamasritaha Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna arto jignasa artarti jnani cha bharatarshava tesham jnani nitya yukta eka bhaktir vashishyate priyo hi jnani notyartam aham sacha mama priyaha udarak sarva evaite Jnani tvatvaiva me matam astita sahi yuktatma mamevam utamam gatim bahunam jamanamante gadavam mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha kamaistaiste hritagyana prapadyante nyadevata tam tam niyama mastaya prakritya niyama swaya yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shradayar chitumicchati tasya tasya chalam shradham tameva vidadham yaham sataya shradaya yuktas tasya arda namihate labate cha tata kaman Mayaiva vihitan hitan antavatu palam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedasham devan deva yajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi avyaktim vyaktim apanam manyante mamabhudayaha param bhavam ajananto mamavyayam anutamam Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritaha mudho yam nabijanati loko mama jamavyayam vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kashana icha dvesha samutena dvandamohena bharata sarvabhutani sammoham sargayanti parantapa yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvanva mohanirmukta bhajanti mam dridhavrataha jaramarana mokshaya mama shrita yatantiye te brahma tadvidu kritsnam adyatma karma chakilam sari bhutari daivam mam sari yagya chame vidu prayana kali pichamam te vidur yukta chetasaha om dhat sariti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supanisatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Sambhade. What is it? Vigyan Yoga Nama Saptamo Dhyayaha Hari Om Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And these are the 4 verses that we'll be adding to the Mangalacharna. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 verses to add to the Mangalacharna. These are called the Srimad Bhagavat Mahima Stotram from the Krishna Lila Stava by Sanatana Goswami. And these are the verses. Sarva Shastradibi Piyush Sarva Vedhaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kali Dvanto Ditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Partaya Prema Varshya Sharayate Sarvada Sarvasevaya Sevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostute. One more time. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshya Sharayate Sarvada Sarvasevaya Sevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostute. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka bandhu mat sangrim madguru mad mahadana manistaraka mad bhagya mad ananda namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin atini chochata kara hana muncha kadachin mam premna hrit kantayo spura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. That is from the Krishna Lila Stava, and it is a special section written by Sanatana Goswami called Srimad Bhagavata Mahima Stotram, praise of the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, on page 296. There's 5 verses.
Will these slokas come in the sequence of slokas just before Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya?
Yeah, we're going to add in a few Gita shlokas.
Okay.
And then that sequence of Bhagavatam shlokas, starting with Shushrusro Shadadhanasya.
Okay.
And then we'll put these Bhagavat slokas.
And then Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya.
Yeah.
Okay. So whatever we sang
Did
today.
we miss a few? we seem to have missed a few shlokas. Didn't we think... Hantaya Madhurabala. Did we do Vande Nanda Vrajastrinam?
I don't remember.
Vande Nanda Vrajastrinam. Yes, we did. Pararinam Bhikshnasha Yasam Harigoto Gitam Punati Bhuvanatrayam. Then we'll add Samasritaye Parapalava Plavam Mahatpanam Punya Yasho Marare Bhavam Budir Vatsapadam Param Padam 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 Yad Vipadam Natesham Go Premanande Adi Adibo. Phone number for texting 650-245-7018. We'd like to hear from you. You can text in at 650-245-7018. Even if you don't have a question, you can just text in, let us know you're there, and say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaff. Change your mantras, change your life. The Maha Mantra will personally take you back to Godhead, and mantras are the best gifts to give. How the world moves by mantra. First, let's look at a definition of what a mantra is. There are several definitions, depends how you want to look at it, but nowadays, of course, the word has been syncretized by the English-speaking people. Of course, those who speak UK English, they say mantra, or if they're Australian, they say mantra. But mantra is a word which is used quite often nowadays when people talk a lot about a political mantra. Political mantras are common, especially with the appearance of Karl Rove and others of his ilk who are experts at changing public opinion through subterfuge and using language in a way to direct people's attention in a certain way. There was a documentary about the nephew of Sigmund Freud, who was the father of public relations and advertising. And it had to do, he became aware of the fact that people are susceptible to the influence of images and language and so forth, and that people are predisposed to be controlled in certain ways, and he didn't mind controlling them. Anyway, this type of mantra, of course, in the material world, people have their impetus to achieve certain ends, and to achieve those ends, they say certain things. These are mantras, in a way, because by the use of sound vibration, we build or we break down things. This is the statement in the Vedas that the world is created by sound. So, a definition of mantra that I picked out, that I saw on Wikipedia, that I thought fit tonight's discussion, is a mantra is a sound, syllable, word, or group of words that is considered capable of creating transformation. And think about the word transformation, transform. We see many varieties of forms in this world, and transform means that you can change those forms. In fact, modern research of the brain has shown that what we think and the way we think changes the physical makeup of the brain. And it's because things are created in this world from subtle to gross. Life comes from life, and matter also comes from life. And the way matter is moving and how it transforms has to do with consciousness. The consciousness behind matter transforms it. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, apare mitastanyam prakritim vidimi param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. Yayedam daryate jagat. It's the living entities within this, within the separated material elements who are manipulating it and who are in that way making it move. They're animating it. Their superior energy. And according to their consciousness, they create various kinds of atmospheres. In fact, we find in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Brahma, when he's creating the living beings and the various aspects of the universe, Om Bhura Bhuva Swa, we know there are various layers of the universe, and as Brahma says himself, Yasya Prabha Prabhapato Jagadanda Koti Koti Shvashesha Vasudari Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Nishkalamananta Mashesha Bhutam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The varieties, unlimited varieties within the universe and within the unlimited universes arise from the power of the Brahma Jyoti, and also more specifically explained in the Bhagavatam in the section of Visarga, or the secondary creation. After Vishnu provides the ingredients, Brahma, who's empowered by Vishnu, through mantra, creates various environments throughout the planetary systems, the different layers of the universe, have various environments, and those are provided to people according to their consciousness. So it's very important to remember what makes things move. And I'm going to read you a purport from the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 26th chapter, 32nd verse, that gives a basis for this theory and idea of sound and mantra moving the world. This is Kapila Dev instructing his mother about Sankhya philosophy. Tamas Sachcha Vikurvanad Bhagavad Vir Yachoditat Shabdamatram Abut Tasman Nabashotram Tu Shabdagam. Translation: when egoism and ignorance is agitated by the sex energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the subtle element sound is manifested, and from sound come the ethereal sky and the sense of hearing. Purport: it appears from this verse that all the objects of our sense gratification are the products of egoism and ignorance. It is understood from this verse that by agitation of the element of egoism and ignorance, the first thing produced was sound, which is the subtle form of ether. It is stated also in the Vedanta Sutra that sound is the origin of all objects of material possession, and that by sound one can also dissolve this material existence. Anavritti Shabdhat means liberation by sound, and that is an aphorism from the Vedanta Sutra. The entire material manifestation began from sound, and sound can also end material entanglement if it has a particular potency. The particular sound capable of doing this is the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Correct. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Our entanglement in material affairs has begun from material sound. I say again. Our entanglement in material affairs has begun from material sound. Now we must purify that sound in spiritual understanding. There is sound in the spiritual world also. If we approach that sound, then our spiritual life begins, and the other requirements for spiritual advancement can be supplied. I have to read it again. if we approach that sound, who's got the dictionary? I hope we have one. Okay, look up the word approach. If we approach that sound, then our spiritual life begins, and the other requirements for spiritual advancement can be supplied. We have to understand very clearly that sound is the beginning of the creation of all material objects for our sense gratification. Similarly, if sound is purified, our spiritual necessities are also produced from sound. Spiritual necessities. Here it is said that from sound the ether became manifested and that the air became manifested from ether. How the ethereal sky comes from sound, how the air comes from sky, and how fire comes from air will be explained later on. You can ask Vrindavan Priya. Sound is the cause of the sky, and sky is the cause of shotram, the ear. It's evolution of the material elements. The ear is the first sense for receiving knowledge. That's the important part, not how it evolves. But the ear is the first sense for receiving knowledge. One must give oral reception to any knowledge one wants to receive, either material or spiritual. Therefore, shotram is very important. The Vedic knowledge is called shruti. Knowledge has to be received by hearing. By hearing only can we have access to either material or spiritual enjoyment. I say again, by hearing only can we have access to either material or spiritual enjoyment. Should I say it again? Don't tempt me, I'll do it. By hearing only can we have access to either material or spiritual enjoyment. In the material world, we manufacture many things for our material comfort simply by hearing. They are already there, but just by hearing one can transform them. If we want to build a very high skyscraper, this does not mean that we have to create it. The materials for the skyscraper, wood, metal, earth, etc., are already there, but we make our intimate relationship with those already created material elements by hearing how to utilize them. Modern economic advancement for creation is also a product of hearing. And similarly, one can create a favorable field of spiritual activities by hearing from the right source. Arjuna was a gross materialist in the bodily conception of life and was suffering from the bodily concept very acutely. But simply by hearing, Arjuna became a spiritualized Krishna-conscious person. Hearing is very important, and that hearing is produced from the sky. By hearing only can we make proper use of that which already exists. The principle of hearing to properly utilize preconceived materials is applicable to spiritual paraphernalia as well. We must hear from the proper spiritual source. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's hear some comments. Let's have a little discussion on this. What's stuck in your mind? What do you want to hear about more?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, as you mentioned that hearing is different from the listening. So there are many deaf people out there, but many people are having very difficult to listen and hear. But hearing means we have to keep something in our mind always. Just you hear something in this ear and it goes in the other way, it doesn't make it work. So we need to have a solid understanding, and we keep always pondering about what the point is in our mind. Otherwise we will forget. So in order to get that kind of understanding, what do we need to do and how do we get it?
You have to purify the mind so that it has interest in the subject matter. Otherwise the mind has so many other thoughts and agendas to fulfill And that's why in the Yoga Sutra it's mentioned that one goes through a process of controlling the mind so one can actually focus on one place, in one place. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we read recently about how one must have hear the Srimad Bhagavatam with rapt attention. Rapt means rapture. Means?
Carried away.
Carried away. Rapt means carried away. So, unless we have faith in the subject matter, we won't have attention. If we consider that the holy name is imaginary, that it's just the same as any other sound, then we'll be attracted to other kinds of sounds equally. But as we hear about our real position in this world, sambandha gyan, we get an idea of what our predicament is in the material world, and we get an idea about what the goal is and what our relationship is with Krishna. It begins to awaken an interest. And when we have that interest, then we can pay attention. Attention. So it has the word ten in it. Ten means to connect, just like tendon is a connector between the different kinds of bones. Intention directs your attention. If you have the intention to serve Krishna and to advance in spiritual life, then you'll be attentive because you want to connect to that information. When you realize it's in your that it's in your interest to hear. In other words, when we heard this purport, there's a way in which it stirs something in the mind and heart that I want to hear more, because it's like a person finding out that there's gold in their backyard or something like that, and then want to go dig. If they previously they just thought it was a bunch of dirt, they'll just sit and watch television all day. But as soon as somebody tells them, you know what, there are diamonds and gold buried in your backyard, they'll be out there with a shovel digging, and they'll get a tractor or rent whatever they have to rent to dig it all out. And similarly, those living entities who have forgotten their real interest in life, they're interested in many things. Bahushaka hyanantascha buddhayo avasayinam. Avyavasayinam means their intelligence isn't fixed. And bahushaka, it's many branched. They can think of so many things. It jumps from one thing to the next. But if somebody has understood that their self-interest is in hearing Krishna Katha, then they become greedy for it. Just like people become greedy for other kinds of things. Only they transfer it to the real source of their wealth, not to some ephemeral attraction in the material world, which is here today and gone tomorrow. So I'll read the purport. May I have the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's worth hearing again. Prabhupada also says, and I mentioned in the beginning, we have to purify the mind and senses. Therefore, it's required to live a sinless life. You have to become free from any kind of sin. Yesham tvantakatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva mohanir mukta bhajantimam dhridavrita. Krishna says in the 7th chapter that those who are finished with a sinful life, and yesham tvantakatam papam jananam punyakarmanam, and they have some punya. And where do you get punya? From hearing Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. Just from hearing the subject matter, it begins to purify you. So then, Yeshan Tvantakatam Papam Jananam Punya Karmanam Te Dvandva Mohanir Mukta Bhajanti Mam Dhridavrta. They become free from this duality in the material world, and they become fixed in the process. Dhridavrta, they have this firm vow to hear and chant about Krishna. And then there's Shraddha Shabde Bishwas Kahe Suridanish Choy Krishne Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. This definition of faith, or Shraddha. Their faith determines where we go. You may say so many things, but if I see you there, I know where your faith lies. because we're driven by our heart ultimately. And Shraddha means where your heart is. It's the chariot driver. If you really want to go somewhere in your heart, that's where you'll start migrating, even if your mind or parents or anybody, government tells you otherwise. You'll go a different direction according to your heart. So Shraddha Shabde Bishwas Kahi Suridhanishchoy Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarvakarma Kritahoy. There's awakening of this sense that my real wealth lies in hearing Krishna Katha. And that if I do that, then everything good will come out, which is what Prabhupada indicates in this verse. By hearing these mantras, they have all the power. They have Krishna's Shakti in them. Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. That Krishna's personal energy is there, and everything necessary will come out. All spiritual paraphernalia will become available, even if you live in Timbuktu. If you live in Timbuktu, but you purify the vibration, and you hear Krishna Katha, then miraculously all the spiritual paraphernalia will manifest itself. Whatever you need to execute your spiritual life. This is why devotees begin to retire from material life. They realize that it's going on automatically, and when they take shelter of Krishna, then he's taking care of them automatically. Who else would take care of? He's taking care of everyone. Nitya nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunam yoviditati kaman. He's the one who's overseeing everything, and he's fulfilling the desires of every living entity since time immemorial. And for the devotee especially, he carries what they lack and he preserves what they have. Samoham sarvabhuteshu nami dveshosti na priya ye bhajanti tumham bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. The devotee who develops this Krishna-centered conception, that's a kind of technical way of saying that the devotee develops faith that Krishna is the goal of life, and he's my life and soul, and he's the wealth of my life, and that hearing about him is not different than being with him, that chanting his name is not any different than receiving his full mercy and complete presence. It's there. Even better, actually. The Vaishnavacharyas say even better. And it's an even more merciful form. Where do they say that? There's a verse from Narada Muni, Iti murtyabhidanena mantramurtam amurtikam yajite yagyapurusham sasam yag darshana puman. You can get the full darshan from the name, the full darshan. And this yag, through this yagya. And mantra murti. So mantra means the sound. We can put the mantra, it's a formula, spiritual formula. The supreme combination of syllables in this Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the form of Krishna is fully there in that mantra. The Yugal Murti. You can go to the highest place in the spiritual world by chanting that mantra. And therefore Narada says, mantra murti, amurtikam. So mantra, the word murti has two meanings. One is form, and the other is difficulty. And therefore, the verse says, mantra murti, amurtikam. So without difficulty, you can come to see the form of Krishna by chanting his names and saying the mantras. Everything's available through that. So, to develop that kind of faith is the real goal of devotional service. We must progressively purify our senses of any kind of designation. We must become free from anartas, false values, an idea that anything else but engagement in uninterrupted, unmotivated service will satisfy me. And when that realization awakens in the heart, this is faith. And from that, one becomes rapt attention. Just like, somebody's trying to tell you over the phone that you just won $1 billion, and your cell phone's breaking up as usual, and you can barely hear him. You'll be going, what? You'll call him back 50 times. Like, now tell me that again. I want to hear how I won $1 billion. Even if you're in the worst area, you'll still call back and try to hear every little piece you can. And Mahaprabhu said it's just like that. When a poor man hears from the astrologer that you're not poor, you're rich. Your father left you $1 trillion. You can pay off, 1% of the U.S., debt. And so that person, he says, will become immediately interested, will become immediately changed because they have that information. And so when we realize our self-interest through the readjustment of our consciousness, that means we come back into alignment. We become realigned with Krishna. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, Sadhya Kabunoi, Shravanadi Shuddhachite, Kare Udoy. What was already there becomes manifested, comes out. It comes out by the process of hearing and purification. Shravanadi Shuddhachite means that the heart becomes pure again and is able to resonate with the spiritual sound vibration. Otherwise, my next door neighbors, I don't know, they moved in about 7 months ago, and I definitely noticed they're there. They must be young. I haven't looked at them. But they play music, and they make noises like, I don't know, wild people. And I definitely noticed the difference in the vibration. It disturbs me every once in a while. I have to close my window, my kutir, so I don't hear at least I can block some of it out. So there are noises going on everywhere. Everyone's attracted to a certain vibration. But what I did notice about them is they're very regulated. They come home at a certain time, and they start drinking, and they start, the music always comes on at the same time. And they have a certain lifestyle of listening to certain vibration. They're attracted to it. They like it. They feel like this is their wealth in life. To hear a certain kind of vibration, it makes them feel protected. They can lose themselves in the vibration. And that's a certain kind of mantra. They're chanting mantras also. Yes.
Prabhuji, firstly, thanks for choosing that wonderful purport. It was very powerful from Srimad Bhagavatam that you read out. And a thought came to my mind, just wanted your confirmation on that. Is it that the mind needs to be purified first to hear properly, or is it that if you hear properly, the mind automatically gets in control? I'm guessing it's the latter, because as we see from examples of Mrigari and Valmiki Muni. So, or are they both interdependent that you go hand in hand? So what
Shraddha is eager to weigh in on that. Okay, one sec. As we'll hear from the purport in the Bhagavatam, both are important. As we find from practical experience that people hear, but they're not able to sustain the hearing. After some time, they forget that it's important. It happens all the time. And people take the spiritual life as if it's their life and soul, and they become very excited about it and realize. And then because of the allurement of Maya, which is coming from their own heart, actually, because there's still some feeling in the heart that there's something for me in the world. The call of the wild, they hear it. That book my father read to me when I was a kid, The Call of the Wild. They had tamed some pets. I think it was a raccoon. Some family lived in the country. Maybe it was a different book, but one of these books my father read to me, they had tamed an animal, a wild animal, like a raccoon, and it became a family pet. And then I think it was mating season, and it just ran away. They heard another raccoon calling out there in the wild, and what happened to my raccoon? He heard the mantra, and he's out of here. So if there is still anarthas within the heart for enjoying the material world, when that mantra comes, somebody may be attracted to it. But somebody who's already attracted to a higher mantra, a higher vibration, who's hearing the Goloka mantra and experiencing it, you have to experience it, that person will not be attracted to the lower sounds. Vishaya vinivartante nirahara sedehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishva nivartate. Therefore, the Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, begins with Shukadev Goswami saying, Nivrittatarshir upagiyamana bhavaushadach chotra manobiramat ka uttama shloka gunanuvardat puman virajeta vina pashugnat. He says that one has to be, in order to hear this Bhagavatam with rapt attention, you have to be nivritta trishna. So trishna means thirst. So you have no more thirst for material life. This is a Paramahamsa Samhita. It's meant for people who are nirmatsararam, means they don't have any more envy in their heart. They don't have a vested interest in the material world, so they're not worried about who gets what. Everyone's worried about who gets their share. Like he took mine. Who cares? Krishna's providing. I don't need anything. So nirmatsararam satam and nivrittatarsha upagiyamana pavaushadach chotra manobirama. Those people who have become free from this thirst for material enjoyment, they can hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. But the others who can't, he says, vina pashugnat, those who are killing animals or killing themselves. It means they're engaged in gross material activities. And so there is a case which can be made for both sides, and I'll give you the case for the other side. Of course, you could argue after hearing this verse that this verse may relate to someone who's predisposed to hearing, but Krishna says in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, on the 26th verse, Anye tvevam ajanataha shrutvanebhya upasate tepi chatintarantyeva mrityam shruti parayanaha. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about Him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Madhurya Kadambini also says that sometimes by strong preaching, someone may suddenly wake up and begin practicing Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada showed that. People didn't have any interest in Bhagavatam. They didn't even know what it was. But because of his strong preaching and the purity of his preaching, he woke up many, many people who said, I want to do this. And people say, what is it? It's like, I'm not sure, but I definitely want to do it. Actually, people, they're attracted to the charm of the sadhu more than anything else. That's what really gets people. It's not the philosophy. Prasadam's there, of course, but ultimately they see something that they don't see in anybody else, in somebody who's actually developing an attraction for Krishna consciousness. And that is, you can tell when someone doesn't have a vested interest in the material world. Because everyone does, for the most part, in the material world. And they look at other people and they go, yeah, he's got the same interest. Subtle or gross, whatever it is. Everyone says, he's same boat. He's safe because he's being held down by the modes of material nature. But when you see somebody, when I say he's safe, means, he's also a prisoner like me. But when you see someone who doesn't have a vested interest anymore, and you feel their association that they've actually opted out, they've given up their stake in the material world, then there's a heaviness to that cannot be denied. And that becomes attractive. That kind of hearing becomes attractive. In any case, those who are impure must hear, and they become purified. But as Srila Prabhupada told Charu, who asked, how long does it take chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra before you feel this real effects? And Prabhupada thought for a minute, he said, 40 years. And then Kalakanta Prabhu, who was giving the class in Mayapur, said, my version of Varnashram Dharma is whatever it takes to keep people engaged for at least 40 years. That's what Varnashram Dharma is. And so there's a way in which you have to keep yourself engaged. Sridhar Swami, the great ancient commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam, to the Tate Anukampam Susamiksham verse, has said that one must stay alive in Krishna consciousness. You have to figure out how to stay alive. It's like in this world, you have to figure out how to keep yourself alive. After you grow up, your parents kind of help you when you're a baby. They better, otherwise you just, you can't last. And then when you're a little kid, they help you a little less and a little less, a little less. When you're an adult, you really do have to take care of yourself, don't you? I was thinking about that the other day. I got to do everything. Brush my teeth. Like if I don't do it, who's going to do it? I have to be responsible. So similarly, when you grow up in spiritual life, you actually have to be responsible for taking care of your spiritual needs. You have to know what it is. But if you're immature, if you're apakva, then that's a possibility. You can take to the process and then fall away. Tyaktva sudharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajana pakvo ta patet tato yadi. Patet tato yadi means, Narada says that somebody takes enthusiastically to the path. How enthusiastically? They give up everything else. Tyaktva sudharmam. They Mom, Dad, I dropped out of Harvard. Where are you? We'll come pick you up. No, don't bother. I joined the Hare Krishnas. What? That's tyaktva swadharmam. They just threw away their dharma. Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam harer, to take to the lotus feet of Hari because it's so attractive. And then bhajana pakvo ta patet tato yadi. But then he was a pakva. Actually, he wasn't ripe yet. So could he stick to the path? No, he gave it up. Patet, he fell down again. So, both things have to be there. That's why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said it takes gallons and gallons of blood to bring one person out of Maya. Oh, what an endeavor. What an endeavor to bring one person solidly out of Maya back home, back to God. It's a big deal. Big news when somebody opts out and says, that's it, I'm going. Right? It's big news. First we have a text, and then we're going to tree shop. What's the text? And by the way, you can text in. Well, you could, but I lost the number. Here it is. All of you out online tonight, we thank you for joining us here at ISV. The number to text in is 650-245-7018. And we'd love to hear from you. Just check in if you're out there. Thank you. Go ahead.
I was saying, Maharaj, that Sudeep Prabhu is online. He asked the same question. That's why I was waving my hands.
Of which came first? The hearing or the purification?
The mind or yes. Hearing is engaging one of our senses, ears. Mind is above the senses and intelligence is above mind. In that case, does hearing with rapt attention purify the intelligence, thereby directing it to control the mind and then engage the senses in hearing more? Is my understanding correct?
Say it again.
So he's saying that hearing is engaging one of our senses, that is ear, and then mind is above the senses, and intelligence is above mind. In that case, does hearing with rapt attention purify the intelligence, thereby directing it to control the mind, to then engage the senses in hearing more? Is my understanding correct?
Yeah.
Just like a
yeah, that's correct. However, there's a way in which... And Krishna says in the Gita that those who study this divine conversation between Arjuna and myself worship me by their intellect, by their intelligence. So the intellect becomes purified. But the sound vibration of the pure devotee who's speaking Krishna Katha goes beyond even the intelligence and penetrates and reaches the soul. It touches the soul. It has to, because all the intelligence and the mind are dead matter. Although subtle, they're shukshma, they're very subtle, but they're dead matter as well. The actual hearer is the soul beyond those instruments. And when the sound vibration is coming from a material source, that is someone who's invested in the material world, then it doesn't go beyond the intellect. And people come up with many philosophies through intellectual pursuits to understand the Supreme. Pantastu koti shatavatsara sambragam yovayoradhapi manaso munipungavanam sopyastiya praparasimnya vichintya tatve govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Brahma says that the greatest of yogis, they may use the mind. They can fly at the speed of the mind or at the speed of the wind for millions and millions of years, but they won't come anywhere close to Govinda. Nowhere close, because it's a descending process. And there's a way in which that the intellect simply leads to frustration. And Brahma admitted that after he tried to understand how this little boy was God, how the cowherd boy was God. And he said, Jnani prayasa mudapasya. He said, give up this intellectual pursuit to understand. You have to simply engage with your heart. This is bhakti, ultimately. Although in the beginning we have to have some gyan, which means we're fortified with gyan and vairagya. What's the verse? Fortified with gyan and vairagya. Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter. Huh? Tachcharadhana munayo gyana vairagya yuktaya Pashyantyatmani chatmanam bhaktya shuta grihitaya. The devotee has to be fortified. He's fortified with knowledge and detachment. But the main point is one must hear from pure devotees. And that sound vibration, says Prithu Maharaj in the 4th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, is like, well, he says the sound becomes mixed with saffron mercy particles from the lotus feet of Krishna. Because his full intention is to glorify Krishna. There's no ulterior motive, and therefore the sound has a special quality to it that actually touches the soul. And then one has direct experience of God from that. You have to have direct experience. It can't be on the level of the intellect or the mind. That won't do it. You'll end up with some erroneous conclusion on the basis of the intellect, like the people who try to reason that God must be void or impersonal. Ultimately, this is the conclusion one might come to through the intellect. One can't understand Bhagavan without his mercy. Atapi te deva padambuja dvaya prashada leshanugrahita evahi janati tatvam bhagavan mahim no na chanya eko picharam bachinban. Lord Brahma also said this, that if you can get a lesha, a particle of mercy from the lotus feet of the Lord, then you can understand everything about him. Well, not everything. To a certain extent, you can understand. But if you try on your own, through your own intellect, you can go for millions and millions of years and you won't understand anything. So the mantra, actually, when the mantra is spoken through disciplic succession, coming from pure source, then it has the effect that it'll penetrate the mind, the intellect, and it'll touch the soul. And the soul will be able to have direct communion with God. That's why Narada said, Iti murtyabhidanena mantra murtim amurtikam yajate yagya purusha sasamyag darshana puman. The full darshan, it comes from this mantra. Shall I read that? Everyone okay? Thus he is the actual seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound the Thus he is the actual seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound representation the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who has no material form. Purport. Our present senses, Prabhupada's purports are just beyond brilliant. They're beyond brilliant.
When you read it.
No, these are for the ages. This is Krishna speaking, empowering a great acharya. Our present senses are all made of material elements, and therefore they are imperfect in realizing the transcendental form of Lord Vishnu. He is therefore worshipped by sound representation via the transcendental method of chanting. Anything which is beyond the scope of experience by our imperfect senses can be realized fully by the sound representation. A person transmitting sound from a far, distant place can be factually experienced. If this is materially possible, why not spiritually? This experience is not a vague, impersonal experience. It is actually an experience of the transcendental personality of Godhead, who possesses the pure form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. In the Amarakosh Sanskrit dictionary, the word murti carries import in twofold meanings, namely form and difficulty. Therefore, a murtikam is explained by Acharya Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as meaning without difficulty. The transcendental form of eternal bliss and knowledge can be experienced by our original spiritual senses, which can be revived by chanting the holy mantras or transcendental sound representations. Such sound should be received from the transparent agency of the bona fide spiritual master, and the chanting may be practiced by the direction of the spiritual master. That will gradually lead us nearer to the Lord. This method of worship is recommended in the Pancharatric system, which is both recognized and authorized. The Pancharatric system has the most authorized codes for transcendental devotional service. Without the help of such codes, one cannot approach the Lord. Certainly not by dry speculation, philosophical speculation. I'll read that again. Without the help of such codes, one cannot approach the Lord, certainly not by dry philosophical speculation. The Pancharatric system is both practical and suitable for this age of quarrel. The Pancharatra is more important than the Vedanta for this modern age. Codes. You got to have your codes. They unravel the knot in the heart. We all know how, just from the age of yantra, of machines, that's how powerful technology is. Very subtle. Just talking on a cell phone is a miracle, isn't it? You can talk to somebody over in Pakistan, on your cell phone while you're standing in the middle of Burlingame. And this is practically miraculous, how we're transmitting sound, that sound vibration from one. So it's not a real stretch to understand how on a more subtle level, on the spiritual level, one can be connected to the spiritual world. Tahan vistarita hoy pali prema pal ihan mali sheche nitya shravanadijal. By taking the watering process and of hearing and chanting, then that creeper grows, it greatly expands and goes to the spiritual world, and there produces fruit from the watering. Yes? Okay, right after Lavanya, and then we got approach, right? Okay, good. I was just thinking about that.
If all other processes of approaching the Lord, Srila Prabhupada explains, our senses are all material. They're gross or subtle, whatever they are, but then they cannot access the transcendental. So we cannot see the transcendental form of the Lord or experience it with our material senses. But the sound vibration can access us. I'm trying to understand the actual flow. So the sound vibration is transcendental, the name of the Lord, the mantra. And it accesses, it reaches straight to our soul. It transcends our senses and reaches our soul. Is that why that path is possible? Because the first sentence is contradictory to the other. I'm not able to connect it.
The reason that it's effective is because it's backed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because we can't understand God by our blunt material senses. It's impossible because we're infinitesimal and we're controlled. But if He decides to reveal Himself to us, who can stop Him? That's His will. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyona medaya na bahuna shutena yamivaisha vrinute tena labhyas tashaisha esha vravinute tanum swam. He reveals His own form to whomever He chooses. And so this discussion, the question you're asking, is brought up, indirectly, in the same realm. It's brought up in the chapter, the most philosophical chapter of the Bhagavatam, which is called at least of the 10th canto anyway, the prayers by the personified Vedas. And the question is, which has been asked by many sages at various times and various planets, how is it that through material medium, through the senses which are made of matter, and we've already admitted that the senses are limited, and even if you get a telescope, you're just extending those limited faculties a little bit further. But still, I can't see the T-lock on my face. And if I close my eyes, I can't see my eyelids either. And even through modern instrumentation, those are created by our own limited senses as well. There's only so much we can do through that, or through logic or deduction. Now, someone may say that I'm cold, I see smoke over there, therefore I'm going to the fire to stand and get warm. And then someone coming the other direction will say, don't bother, the fire's already out, they poured water on it, and it's just smoke. You save some trouble of walking over the hill to go to that place. And through this inference or through direct sense perception, we can't understand God. And therefore, the question comes in that chapter, how is it through the material senses then how does it even work? It's material sound. You say mantra, you say transcendental, but I say it's the same material senses and the same matter, coming through the air, and it's a physical exercise. So how do you understand it? And Prabhupada cuts to the meaning in that beginning of that chapter and says, this is actually a discussion about whether God is personal or impersonal. And you say, how is that? And the reason is because if he's a person, and he's the supreme person, he can reveal himself in any way he likes. That means he can transform the energy. After all, his energy anyway. He says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartite. It's all coming from me. All these energies emanate from me. And he's in control of all those energies, and he can certainly reveal himself. So he can as he likes, he can transform that sound vibration from material to spiritual. That's why one person might be chanting Hare Krishna, but have Mayavad intentions. And that vibration is not the holy name. It's actually contaminating. And somebody else may be singing off key or whatever, but because they're situated in pure devotional service, which may not mean that they're completely pure, but they're properly aligned. They've surrendered to the proper authority. And they have faith that the holy name and Krishna are non-different. And even though they may not be able to fully execute it yet, they believe in pure devotional service. And that's their full intention for their life. Such a person, such a neophyte who has faith in the holy name, who chants it, can convert others to pure devotional service. And they do, all the time. And that also shows what's being proved in that chapter, Prayers Personified Vedas, that Krishna is behind it. He's transforming. He appears where he likes to appear. And he appears when somebody submissively surrenders to him. Tadvidi pranipatena praprishnena sevaya upadakshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. There's a mode of approach. Amanitvam adambitva himsa shantirarjavam. The Krishna says you have to be humble, prideless, and you have to inquire, and you have to be pranipat, and then you can hear the vibration properly, and then it becomes spiritual because Krishna reveals himself. Atashri Krishna namadi na bhaved grayam indraye sevan mukhi jivado swayam eva spuratyada. Spuratyada means Krishna reveals himself. Spurti. To whom? To somebody who faithfully serves him by chanting his names. But otherwise, he can't be understood through the blunt material senses. So it's not exactly mechanical either. So it's transcendental sound vibration. I'll just turn it on. One fellow joined the San Francisco temple right after I did. And he was a fanatic. And he had this harmonica holder where he put a picture of Krishna right in front of his face. And he wouldn't do any service. He just said, I'm going to think of Krishna all day long. Can you sweep the floor? Nope. Thinking of Krishna. And he had a picture right in front of him all the time. And, then I noticed a week later he was circumambulating the temple a lot. And then the circle got wider and wider until we never saw him again. But there was a mood. Other devotees who were interested in serving and service, sweeping the floor, following the program as it was passed down to us, they could understand gradually, they could appreciate the holy name. Shushu sho shadadhanasya vasudeva kataruchi syan mahat sevaya vipra punya tirta nishevanat. When somebody renders service to the Mahatmas, if you render service to a sadhu, if you hang out with sadhus, that's how you make advancement in spiritual life, period. That's where it all comes from. It's coming from sadhus. You can't do it on your own. You have to have sadhu sangha. It's all with the sadhus. They have Krishna, nobody else. Nobody else. And if you get sadhu sangha, you get everything. So if you serve those sadhus, Shushu Shro Shradadhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtan Shevana, said this is great service. This is what you want to do. There's a lot of good causes. Everyone's got to get up and go to do some good cause in life. But there's only one great cause. And that great cause is mentioned here. You got to serve the Mahatmas. And if you do that, then you get an affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. Because Krishna blesses you and the sadhus bless you, they can do that. It's an internal process of the internal energy. So mantras come from the spiritual world, and we should take them in the right spirit. That's why Lord Chaitanya says, Tranadapi sunichena, Tororapi sihishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. The actual standard for chanting is not 16 rounds. It's kirtaniya sadahari. 16 rounds is just like, okay, start somewhere. But you can't do anything unless you're humble, unless you feel like giving respect to others. Otherwise, why would God manifest himself to you in his name? So it's a...
I was thinking, because you've explained my second question. My thought was, if it's only the transcendental vibration that you can get from a pure devotee or a sadhu, then I was thinking that maybe that's why initially I found when you were doing namaki, when you were singing the holy names, it was more attractive than when I was doing it, because it came from a pure soul and the sound vibrations are different. And I was thinking, and then it went on, and I was thinking, if I put on Prabhupada's, Srila Prabhupada's, the voice box that goes Hare Krishna, and sit with that, maybe my chanting might be more effective. That was how it went. But I'm thinking that more it has a lot to do with how I am rather than what I surround myself with.
That's true, and that sort of goes to my point of the guy with the harmonica holder and the picture in front of his face. Someone might say, I'll just turn this tape on full blast all night long, and that'll do it. Like sleep learning, you can buy those things you put under your pillow, and it'll teach you French in a few weeks while you sleep. I mean, it's not a bad idea to have the vibration going, and that's not bad. But we have to be in a service mood. There can be an opposite mood that this is. And someone brought it up the other night. Somebody's going on chanting, but they're not getting anywhere. There also has to be submission and service. Did you have your hand up, or was there a text that came in? Oh, yes, Narendra.
Yes, I've heard from many people that Hare Krishna people, to start with, they were taking LCD and eating meat and lots of stuff. Okay, and by the magic of mantra, they left everything and they became very organized and... Hello? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, they became very organized and they have, they left all the dirty habits. And in America particularly, actually it is also in India, that so many people are alcoholic. And the doctors recommend so many things, but nothing brings them back to non-alcoholic situation. And this is a thing which is 100% guaranteed here.
Don't slam the door.
So if it is 100% guaranteed, why, with the proper advertisement, people should understand this. If they wish to remove their alcoholism, this is the method.
Well, I'd like to put you personally in charge of that project. I'm serious. I think that you should try it. I mean, when I was in Japan has a lot of smokers because they don't have as much resistance to it. In America, there was a big lawsuit against the cigarette companies who, with impunity for many years, distributed cigarettes to the population. And through subterfuge, they were able to hold back the health department and the government and everyone like that, saying, oh, how do you know it causes cancer? That could just be, something else. And they had high-powered lawyers and they kept it back. But in Japan, they don't have that as much, and so many people smoke there. So the devotees were saying, we need it would be interesting to have a program there based on Krishna consciousness to help people give up smoking. And Prabhupada used to say things like that. He would say in Chicago, when he arrived in Chicago, we were there in 1975 when he came, and there was he met with the police chief of Chicago. And Prabhupada had seen on the airplane coming in, or just when he got to Chicago, a newspaper article that said crime, why, and what to do, because there was a spate of shootings and all kinds of crime in Chicago at the time. So Prabhupada said, I can tell them what to do. You give me this building. He saw one big building that was abandoned. He said, you give us this building and develop it, and we'll have an ashram there. We'll train people gradually to purify their senses through chanting Hare Krishna. We'll show them that they'll become purified. So yeah, we're interested in that. And if you would like to, I think the best thing to do would be to draw it up on paper, to make a strategic plan, just an outline of how you would like to do that. There are people that go to 12-step programs, and in those 12-step programs, which are for getting over certain kinds of addictions, they at certain step, and I don't know all the steps, as I've never been to one, but there is a step at which you have to discover your higher power, and they're non-sectarian. They don't say, go to this church or that. They say, go find a place where you can actually discover, a connection with God, because that's ultimately the only way that you're going to overcome this kind of addiction. And yes. Oh, wait. I want to hear this approach. You had the.
So I also have a question after that.
Rule the airwaves.
So the meaning of approach is, it comes from late Latin, which is ad plus prop, which means, and prop means near. So the meaning is to draw closer. And the second meaning is to make advances, to especially in order to create a desired result.
So prop means close?
Prop means close.
Prop, so to get closer. Like upanyayanam. This word upanayam means to get closer to the spiritual master. And Upanishad has the same sense to it, that I'm coming closer to this, to the Supreme Lord, and I want to come in close to here. Now I've finished hearing all these other things. Now I have one-pointed attention. Nice approach. So that came from our first reading, in which Srila Prabhupada says that one if we approach that, go ahead. If we
approach the spiritual sound, I think spiritual life begins and all other required
very good, yeah.
like supplies.
It says, if we approach that sound of the spiritual world, then our spiritual life begins and the other requirements for spiritual advancement can be supplied. So the approach is important, isn't it? How we approach. Tadvidi pranipatina priprashnena sevaya. You have to have seva, a service attitude. You have to have pranipat, that you're putting yourself, your head's on the ground, saying, I'm murka, I'm a fool. You please tell me, I don't know anything. And pariprashnena, you have to ask relevant questions, which brings us to.
So the question I have is that there are so many vibrations in the world, and even though we are getting so much good vibration here, when we go in the world, there are so many other vibrations which are not wanted, which are not favorable. So what do we do about that? Should we avoid them or should we, process them?
Well, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that you should live in a secluded place. It's very helpful for spiritual life if you can live in a secluded place. I mean, the Goswamis, they went to Vrindavan and they lived Kujatko kilahang sasara sagana kirne mayura kule nana ratna nibana mula vitapa Shri Yukta Vrindavane Radha Krishna Maharnisham Prabhajato Jivarta Do Yomuda Vande Rupa Sanatano Raguyago Shri Jiva Gopalako. They went to Vrindavan. Hey, no running in here. So there's a way in which we should gravitate to these places that are serene, that are spiritual. We should live in a dham. Of course, Vrindavan nowadays has become, insufferably filled with, construction and just, garbage thrown everywhere and stuff. It's terrible. So we should have a campaign to clean it all up. Some devotees in Varshana are doing that. But anyway, I don't want to digress. The point is that, we should find a sacred place to live so that we're not disturbed by so many other sounds. And we should repair to that place. And if we can't, then at least we should do it on a regular basis and have a taste for that, for seclusion. Seclusion means, hearing and chanting without interruption. Everyone should have that experience at least once a year, some retreat. When you go to a retreat, at least 5 days, if not a month, you should retreat to some place where you have no other business. You have no cell phone. You drop all your other responsibilities, and all the other sounds are completely shut off, and you only listen to Krishna Katha. You should do that. You should do that. If you can't do it all the time, then do it sometimes. Then you'll develop a taste for it. And also, when we have to live in the world, I said this the other night, but we have to fortify ourselves. As we're moving and working in the world, we have to be fortified so that we're not affected by the various kinds of sounds that we'll hear in the world. America, the West, is for preaching or for sense gratification. America, the West, is for preaching or sense gratification. So if you're not preaching, then there's just material enjoyment. You don't want to get caught up in that and all the material sounds that come here. So fortify yourself means that for your health, physical health, if you keep yourself fit by exercise, which is a good idea. Everyone should have vigorous exercise at least for 20 minutes a day, preferably dancing in Mangalartik. And you should drink lots of clean water. And you should also eat a rainbow diet. It means lots of different colors of vegetables and fruits. This is recommended. And you should also be free from stress. Learn how to overcome stress by seeing the bigger picture and so forth. If you keep yourself in a healthy state, then you won't fall sick. And similarly in spiritual life, if you keep yourself fortified by having a very regulated and strong program to chant one chapter of Bhagavad Gita a day, to hear from the Srimad Bhagavatam every day, to chant really good rounds as your main purpose of your day revolves around the chanting of your mantra. This is our main sadhana, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And throughout the day, if you also refresh the mantra by chanting in between engagements, and then carry some shlokas with you in your pocket. I recommend 7. I always have my shlokas right in my pocket. Keep them in a little bag. Always 7. Because that was what was passed down to me from one of my exalted godbrothers. He always had 7 shlokas in his pocket. He said, if he can carry 7 shlokas, I could carry 7 shlokas. And so you got your 7 shlokas in your pocket and you bring them out, they'll become your friend. They actually will, this is, these are mantras, holy mantras. They'll protect you. They'll keep you in a protective bubble, even though you have to meet so many people. If you're in your mind is permeated by Doyal Nitai Chaitanya Bole Nachariyar Marman, and you go into the office and people are saying blah 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 blah, and you're going Nachariyar Marman. Hey, what do you care? They can blab all they want about the World Series and, who broke their leg and who died and everything. And you're thinking, I got better things to do. That your mind has better things to do. This is what you have to give it higher engagement. And it comes through the mantras. It's actually in there. There's a life in these mantras. They're live mantras. So if you ingest those mantras regularly, it'll be obvious. You'll become spiritually healthy. And you'll also feel yourself impervious to the effects of material sound vibration. And the point is also, if you have to go to meetings and do so many things, you do it officially. You have to do your job. You can't get out of it. So go there and you say, yes, sir. Okay, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. Maybe. Okay. Yes. No. But it's just your duty. You're not invested in it. It's not your heart and soul that you're... Okay, we're going to have door training when we get to the new place. So, yeah, you have to fortify yourself. And also take a retreat every year. You come out to Govardhan for a month during Kartik. And where?
Even these retreats we do, if you can't make Kartik.
Yeah, some retreats here. You can do a retreat. We've done retreats before, japa retreats. Everyone feels otherworldly when they come out of those after a few days. One day, no talking. No talking and just chanting, 64 rounds at least, and then no speaking. What a relief. As Giri Raj Maharaj said the day after when we were sharing about it, he said, I didn't have to think how to respond. That's one of the things. What to speak of, we don't even realize how harassed we are by texting and cell phone calling and emails and everything. They're always popping up just when you're just getting into your samadhi, whatever it is, and all of a sudden, ding! It goes off. Our mind's being disturbed in many different ways. That's why Bhagavatam says in the Iron Age Jakali, men have but short lives. They're quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Difficult. So a couple more points I'd like to make about the mantras. No slamming doors. Brahma Sutra, Shastra Yonidvat. This is the Brahma Sutra says, Shastra, the scripture, the revelation, the Upanishad, Yonidvat, because of its being the proof or source. Yon means literally the womb, or that which causes or produces a thing. So the translation of this important sutra is that the existence of Brahman cannot be inferred because he is to be known only through scriptures. The scriptures are self-effulgent, and we can't understand through the intellect, through the senses, but through hearing the mantra, we can directly experience. This is what Shastra is. It's the revealed word of God. It's coming from the spiritual world. So you have to take shelter of the Shastra. Tarko pratishtanat. Tarka means reasoning or argument. Don't be a tarky. Apratishtanat, because of not having fixity or finality. So the translation is, there is no finality to reasoning. Means that every argument has a counter-argument. Just accept it. It's the way it is. You'll never defeat anyone, even if you become the greatest scholar of your age and you conclusively prove your case. 1,000 years later, someone will come along and tear you to pieces. And that's the way it is. Tarko Pratishtanat. There's no standing in this logic. And therefore, the Vedanta Sutra says that these pronouncements of human reasoning can never be perfectly free of doubt. Release means liberation. Therefore, can never be obtained by methods evolved by the human brain. But it has to be found by the Upanishadic method only. It means through mantra. You have to take the mantra, the Shruti. It's eternal. It's revealed. It's non-different from God. And it's a parusheya. It's not created by the human mind or intellect. Shrutestu shabda muladvat means the defects of material reasoning don't apply in the case of Brahman because the scriptures declare it. And the word of God alone is the root from which we learn anything about these transcendental subjects. So it's all in the Shastra, in the mantras. This is from Vedanta Sutra 2.127, Vedanta Sutra 2.111, and Vedanta Sutra 1.1.3. Three famous verses from Vedanta Sutra. And another one that was embedded in the purport was Anavriti Shabdat, that liberation through transcendental sound. And I mentioned that change your mantras, change your life. So, Anyadevahur sambhavad, Anyadahur asambhavad, iti shushumadhiranam yenas tadvichakshade. Take it from the self-realized souls, dhiras, who are not disturbed by the material energy. They've said this. They're the ones speaking, according to this verse. That one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes, and another result is obtained by worshipping that which is not supreme. So, how we speak, how we worship means, what mantras we're using. And in every realm, there's some kind of mantra you have to use. If you go and study history, they'll give you history mantras. And there's a way that you have to talk and to be in academic circles in order to communicate and be accepted in that realm. And in the spiritual realm, through this process of Panchatrik, the Panchatrik Vidhi and this Bhagavat Marg, is the way that the sadhus speak. Samadhi Bhashya. That comes from Veda Vyas. After his absorption in the spiritual world and seeing Krishna for himself, he came out and he talked about it. This is Samadhi Bhashya. He heard it, he saw it for himself, he spoke it. And if you just talk nonsense, it means prajalpa, means gramya kata, it means the talk of the town. It's useless talk of the town. Who broke what toe, who's going to jail, what the weather's going to be and so forth. I mean, obviously, there's a way in which we have to interact in the world. I'm not advocating fanaticism, that I become disconnected from the ordinary dealings. We have to be straightforward in ordinary dealings. But only as much as necessary. But we should become entangled in spiritual sound. We should become fully attached to the mantras. This is the life of progress in spiritual, in human life. And it's altogether possible because that's exactly what the human apparatus is designed for. It's designed exactly for this, to absorb spiritual sound. So, if you change your mantra, the way you speak, then you'll change your consciousness. It's that simple. And if you pick up these mantras and you learn how to work them, I mean, a lot of people go to school for a long time to learn how to work this computer code. Right? Or am I dreaming about something? thing that's going on here in Silicon Valley. I mean, everything's built on this code. Build, 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 build. And at the end, it's still the same thing comes out the other end. Doesn't matter how fast you can say it. If you don't have anything to say and then you say it, what's the use? You know, you say it faster and at longer distance. It just spreads the same kind of material sound vibration and affects people's consciousness. And when people lie, then the ether becomes very disturbed. Lying and untruths, subverting the truth and so forth. Very contaminated, justifying so many evil sins and things like that. It's disastrous for the people, for the souls who live in this world, that kind of vibration. So what's necessary are Brahmins. Brahmins. That's Prabhupada said he wanted to create this, train people to be in the mode of goodness. Speak the truth. They're speaking truth. And they are dedicated to going back to the spiritual world. We have to have that. So that requires changing your mantra. Brahmins chant mantra. Swadhyayaha. It means you have to regularly recite the Vedas. And the essence of all the Vedas is the Hare Krishna mantra. That's all you need. That's the crown jewel of all the Vedas and the perfection of life, is to take that mantra. So we're advocating that. And the Maha Mantra will personally take you back to Godhead. Bhaktivinoda Thakur proves this in the last... Can I have it? Do we still have it here? The Sharanagati. Is it in there? In the last verse of the Sharanagati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes his rapture in chanting the holy name of the Lord. He's literally carried away by the chanting, and how he is overcome with spiritual symptoms by the chanting. That's all right. We're running out of time anyway. And that ultimately the holy name comes and personally takes him by the hand and brings him to Goloka Vrindavan. So if you take this mantra, which is advocated by all the great sadhus and by the Shastra and by Lord Chaitanya personally, if you take that mantra as your life and soul, then the holy name will come and personally take you by the hand back home, back to Godhead. And the mantras are the best gifts to give. People are always thinking, what to give to other people. But the mantra is the best thing to give. That is the most valuable gift that you can give to anyone, is the mantra. And we were just reading in the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, because I took one of my Bhakti Vaibhav examinations yesterday. And in it I learned something, which is that GAF, gifts, attention, and friendship, are the three things that you should give to other living entities in order to satisfy the Supreme Lord who's within everyone's heart. It's the GAF. Gifts, attention, and friendship. And the greatest gifts are the mantras. If you can impart the mantra to others, you should dedicate your life to taking the mantra yourself and imparting it to others, bequeathing it to others. And if you really have it, if you have full faith in the mantra, then you'll have the ability to give that greatest gift to other people. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked us to do. He said, Jari dako tahe kaha Krishna upadesh amaragnai guru hanatare edesh. He said, become heavy. Become heavy. Become heavy with this mantra. Become fully absorbed in it. Learn what it is. Develop your relationship with the mantra. And then go out and give it to others as much as possible. And that may require a little training. You have to teach people what's in it, because they don't know. If you give some iPhone or something to somebody who's lived in the forest their whole life, you're going to have to explain it a little bit. So the mantra actually, even more than that, people have an intuitive sense because it does penetrate the ignorance. And no matter what culture somebody's from, they'll pick up the fact that you're giving them a great gift. Sometimes. Other times it takes a little while for them to appreciate. Lavanya?
A lot of times it's not just the mantra.
Give her the mic.
My bag.
Huh?
A lot of times when it comes to a point where you have something to give them, and they notice that you have the bag, so you're giving them only half the stuff. The bag's still with you.
They want the bag?
With the beads.
We can arrange that.
No, it was funny. I was thinking, I was traveling by flight and there was a lady sitting next to me, and I was trying to study for my Bhakti Shastri, and I had the Bhagavad Gita with me, and it was a personal copy. It was the first one I received from Sri Premataji when I first came to ISKCON. And I thought this flight, next time I'll carry some books, And I was not too sure. I was sitting there, and it so happened that she started talking to me, and by almost at the end of the flight, I realized she really wanted that book. and I asked her if I'd mail her a copy or something, and she said no. Usually it's difficult to give personal information to someone. And then finally I handed the book over to her, and she was so overwhelmed with the idea that, I told her it's an old book, I've written in it, I've scribbled on it, it's a lot of marking. She said, but that makes it so personal to you. I can't take that. And then we sat and went through the centers that we had, and there was nothing close to her. She's in Alabama somewhere, and it's a flight going. And I thought, if I'm too attached to something, I heard your voice telling me, go get the books. If you don't have the books, you can't give them. And I thought, next time I go on a flight, I carry an extra book. And it was so amazing. I gave it to her, and she gave me back something that she had. And she said, I want to give you something. And she gave me something that was very dear to her. And I was thinking that, when we got off the flight, I thought, I remember what you said about, you don't have to give money. You can give time. You can give something valuable to yourself and still earn the sukriti to understand the book. She desired it so much, and without realizing, she had also given me what she needed to give to get the sukriti for the book. And I was thinking, people want what you have if you're very interested in it. I was trying to study for the exam, and they get curious to see what is there that attracts you. So I was thinking with the bead bag, they'd want the bag too next time with the mantras.
Give me the book and the bag. And I want you too. All right, we're going to leave it at that note. I'm sorry, Sanatan Sundaram, because we've run out of time. We just have enough time to put the books away, and remembering that they're our path back to Godhead. With great respect, we'll put them away, but efficiently also. And then if you're still here after, we'll take your question just after the Artik. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Mahamantra ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Go Premanande Haribo. And we thank everyone who joined us online tonight. Thank you very much for being here. Hare Krishna.
So she's there, I think, getting the practice. In fact, I don't go to come on Wednesdays because like school and all. But
Do you have it?
no.
Okay. Better start reading it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're making such a fast advance. Just few days. Gayatri.
I don't know if I will be able to. Very Shamalangi.
Arigato. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadishatarne Jayo Jaya Gaura Chande Arutiko Shobha Janavi Tatavane Jagamana Luba Jagajana Mana Luba Jagajana Mana Luba Gaurangera Rotiko Shobha Jagajana Mana Lobha Gaurangera Rotik Shobha Jagajana Mana Lobha Jagajana Mana Lobha Jagajana Mana Lobha Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Sai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Sai Gaur Hari Bol Rakhe Nitai Chan Kame Gadadhara Nikate Advaita Shrini Vashchatradara Boste Akshay Gaurachan Ratna Singhasane Arati Korena Brahma Adi Deva Gane Nara Hari Adi Kori Chamara Dhulaya Sanjaya Mukunda Basu Goshari Gaya Shanka Baje Ghanta Baje Baje Karatala Madhura Mridanga Baje Paramarasala Madhur, Madhur, Madhur Bhaje. Oh, Madhur, Madhur, Madhur Bhaje. Shankha Bhaje, Ganta Bhaje. Madhur, Madhur, Madhur Bhaje. Shankha baje, ganta baje, madhur, madhur, madhur baje. Madhur, madhur, madhur baje. Oh, madhur, madhur, madhur baje. Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol, Thai Gaur Hari bol. Thai Gaur Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol, Thai Gaur Hari bol. Bahu Koti Chandra Dini Padana Ujwala Bahu Koti Chandra Dini Vadana Ujala Bahu Koti Chandra Dini Vadana Ujwala Kala Deshe Vanamala Kaure Jhalamala Shiva Shuka Narada Prime Gada Gada Shiva Shuka He Narado Preme Gada Gada Hey Bhakati Vinoda Deke Gaurara Sampada Bhakati Vinoda Deke Gaurara Sampada Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasana Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Kartal Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Jai Jaya Prabhupada Jai Jaya Prabhupada Premanande Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajika Jharja Stotaras Shishimad Bhai Charanada Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajika Jharja Stotaras Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavind Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Premsakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Tham Ki Shri Mayapur Navadip Tham Ki Shri Jagannath Puri Ki Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Haribo. You sang on Sunday, so we'll treat lots of stuff.
Give it to Shiva.
There is a family in Seattle attends ISKCON at the Seattle location, and they are very well known to Vishakha Leela Mataji and Rasika Shiromani Mataji, and unfortunately the family lost the husband died on Friday morning, and today Seattle Temple has done they have done the ceremonies for him at the temple, but I wanted to request that we offer our Narsinga prayer to the family and to the person. This is Sri Priya and Guhan, who have been visiting this ISKCON temple. They've been very regular for the past few years, and they're well known to devotees from there. And it's been devastating on that family because they have very small children, and it was very unexpected, the whole incident. So we request that this Narsimha prayer be requested to be offered in there.
Sri Priya and Guhan.
Sri Priya and Guhan.
We pray to Lord Nrsingadev that he please protect Gohan in his progress back home, back to Godhead, and that he protect all the devotees. And we pray deeply for their family, that they may very quickly heal from this crisis. Thank you for considering our request. Hare Krishna.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Taladalalayine. Ito Narasimho Parato Narasimho. Srilatankana kalaye. Ito Narasimha Parato Narasimha. Tato yato yami tato Narasimha. Bahir Narasimha Hridaye Narasimha. Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapadye. Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam Nalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubhenga Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Vakara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubhenga Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev. Jaya Bhakta Prahlad, Jaya Bhakta Prahlad, Jaya Bhakta Prahlad, Jaya Bhakta Prahlad. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Narasimhadev ki.
Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday night Gita class. And we'd like to thank Nitai Kripa Prabhu, who's living in the UK, for producing this beautiful new poster. Hare Krishna. This is the MSF of killing the Ravana within. So we're following in the footsteps of Lord Ramachandra, searching out that demoniac element within the heart that doesn't want to surrender, and against all odds bringing all the soldiers to bear against that evil force that holds us back from surrendering to Krishna. And we'll pray to Sita, Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman, and the entire monkey army. And Hanuman, please help us in killing Ravana, who's there in his opulent palace, enjoying the world, thinking that he's the king. This is the false ego, thinking that I'm the enjoyer of this world. And once and for all, this Ram Navami, we want to kill that Ravana within the heart. So we're praying to Lord Ramachandra. And just as his soldiers went out here, there, and everywhere looking for Sita in the initial stages of the struggle, of the war, they hadn't even located her. So we too also, we go out everywhere, door to door looking. Prabhupada said this was appropriate because we are going to liberate Lakshmi. All the wealth in the world is actually Lakshmi Devi, and it's meant to be employed in the service of Ram. It's Lakshmi and Sita are the same. But people are misusing. They're just like Ravana. They're spending for their own enjoyment and so forth. So we're going out just like the monkey army, looking here, there, and everywhere, trying to find where is Sita. And we liberate that Lakshmi and bring it back and use it in the service of Ram. So this is an eternal pastime we're engaged in, working for Lord Ramachandra. And we're going to recite the entire Ramayana. We're partway through, almost halfway. I looked at the book last night, it's getting close to halfway. So I'm going to Los Angeles tomorrow. So we're going to have to organize something that is an ongoing reading. We've done this we did this last year as well. Devotees took over the reading, and we'll have to pick up the pace. Whatever we don't finish, we will finish on the weekend of Ram Navami, and we'll have that day to hear and chant all day long. And if that's what it takes, we'll read from morning till night to finish. And we'd like to wish Avantika a very happy birthday. She's become one of the steadiest devotees here, although she's young in age, just turned a little bit older today. I noticed that you're very mature in age, or in your manner, that you come to the temple, very attentive in the classes and so forth. And we deeply appreciate that about you. And we'd like to wish you a happy birthday, if you don't mind. May we? Hare Krishna to you, Hare Krishna to you, Hare Krishna dear Avantika, Hare Krishna to you. Well, you know it's a tradition to give a speech, so you can say anything you want.
Thank you very much, and please bless me. Hare Krishna.
Haribol! And I'd like to thank Krishna Dharma Das Prabhu, who brought the poster in today. He's got a service attitude. I always notice that if there's something to do and you ask him, or anybody asks him, he always just does it. And I really appreciate that about you. He's been doing a lot behind the scenes, helping to order books and keep up with a lot of the very regular kinds of reporting and things like that, of scores, ordering books, staying in touch with the BBT and things like that, which is keeping us in transcendental literature. So we thank you. Is anybody here for the first time? Hare Krishna Vrindavan. Tonight's cooks, I saw Bhaktavatsal was in there cooking. He not only cooked tonight, but he was also the pujari for the evening, and he cooked everything. So Bhaktavatsal Prabhu cooked everything and performed all the deity service tonight. Hare Krishna. Is he still here? Can he come out and take a bow? Oh, better give him a microphone so all our listeners online can hear.
A special Haribol to Mother Ruby. She's been doing our garlands for many, many years, and she's concerned that she's not going to be able to make it up to the new Mountain View Temple, but she's been stepping up to the plate and doing garlands every day with Mother Shruba and Anuradha. There she is. But Ruby is trying to train up everybody, and she's given her heart into this. So when you see her, please give her a special Hari Bol.
Hari Bol! We're going to have an ISV shuttle bus to just go around the city and pick up everyone who wants to do service, right?
I just wanted to say that I met Ruby Mataji last Thursday when she was making garlands here, and it seems she has found out a way. She has some company with whom she is planning, if not sure, that she will still be attending on Friday. On Friday, she will go to the new temple. So she really wants that miracle to happen, and she is all ready for it.
Haribol!
I'm very glad that Ruby Mataji is in my team and I'm working with her, and it's very happy with me, with Ruby Mataji, what I'm doing the service with her and enjoying with the Krishna's garland doing the service.
Jai, Ruby Mataji ki jai, Hare Krishna. Any other announcements? Announce? Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. We need after the prayer.
This means you come out here, stand up, and go ahead.
Hare Krishna. As His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu mentioned that this is one of the most purifying service, the temple cleaning of the Lord. So we request devotee if they can kindly help us by staying some few minutes after the prasadam has been done. So we will like to request if any devotee want to stay after the prasadam for the cleaning service.
How many do you need?
3 devotees.
You'll only allow 3. 1. Only allow 2 more. Thank you. 3. Okay. Thank you very much. And who should they check with? Is Ramananda Saka here? Hari Sankirtan is here?
Yeah, the Hari Sankirtan Prabhu is here.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sharirad Vijajal Jodendriya Tahikal Jibe Pili Vishashogare Dharma Divayati Lobamai Sadurmati Takejita Katina Shangshade Krishna Boradoyamoy Goribare Jivajai Shaprasaranati Lobai Shayanamrita Pao Radha Krishna Gunagal Premidako Chaitanita Akarina Shanti Pure Prabhu Advaitera Gare Dui Prabhu Bhojane Bosilo Shakori Aswadana Prabhu Bole Bhakta Gana Esha Krishna Ashvadilo Hena Shakashvadane Krishna Prema Aishe Mane Se Preme Koro Ashvadan Jada Buddhi Parihari Prasara Bojana Kori Hari Hari Bolo Sarvajan Hari Hari Bolo Sarvajan Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Swapa Punyavatam Rajan Vishwaso Navachayate Prasade Sarvadukkanam Hanirasyo Pajayate Prasana Chetaso Yashu Gudipaya Vachishate Bhagavat Shri Mahaprasad Ki Jai Gope Manande Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Please Please come take prasadam. Hare Krishna. Prasadam will be served in the picnic area just outside, and there'll be room inside. You can come back in and honor prasadam here. And this is the penultimate Wednesday night before we vacate these premises forever, and there'll only be a memory. What is it? That's why this is the penultimate. Yeah, we're counting down the days, and I guarantee you, whether it's ready or not, we're moving in. That'll be taking place next week. Ram Navami is next Friday, so there'll be a festival all weekend long at the temple. It means all day long on Friday we'll have hearing and chanting, and in the new temple with the deities who'll enter the temple at that time, and also Saturday, Sunday we have programs lined up to worship Lord Ramachandra on that weekend. And we'll be off to a new life in the new temple, which I must say is getting really good reviews. We saw that just recently our very dear devotee from Los Angeles, Ratnabhushan, came here, and he was very much taken with the temple there. And he's a details person. He built all the brand new Rath Yatra carts by hand, personally, in Los Angeles. He's such a craftsman also that all those carts, they're made out of metal, they all fold up and fit perfectly in the back of a truck. And he's building them for others around the country. Last year he went to 12 Rath Yatras. And he's been cooking the Sunday feast in Los Angeles for decades now. And they, when they make sabjis, they make for 250 people. Buckets and buckets of sabjis and everything like that for the Sunday program. And he said that this is the best kitchen he's ever seen in ISKCON, at least in America. Because in India now, he told me some of Radhanath Swami's kitchens are going like way off the charts with all kinds of high-tech equipment and everything like. But he said in America we've raised the bar for this kitchen. So that's Krishna's mercy. We've been wanting to improve the standard for a long time, and it's nice to start at the top. And the rest of the temple, I must say, looks really beautiful also. Some of the temple rooms that I visit around America, sometimes they're a little too big. They can actually swallow up, because during most of the programs they're not full capacity. They're at a very small capacity, and it feels like you're being overwhelmed by the space. It's certainly true in Toronto a lot of times, and Berkeley Temple I've noticed as well, and even in Los Angeles sometimes. In Bhagavatam class, people are sitting, you're looking, and you have to have binoculars to see who you're talking to. Have to have everyone move up close. Here we've had the luxury for so many years of being close together. And so I was feeling that temple room the other night, that it's not too small and it's not too big. It's just right for us. It's Krishna's arrangement. He's bringing all the resources that we need, and as we heard tonight from the transcendental sound, all our success has come about because of this, because we're vibrating the transcendental sound. It's all His mercy. So we'll go on doing that and praying that we have more and more facility to offer to their Lordship, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, and I'm sure that they will accommodate so that we can spread all over Silicon Valley this movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gaur Premanande Haribo! Please come take prasadam. Hare Krishna.